wonderful. And I'm going to set it up here so that it can record so that we could put it on the chamber website for later for people who it doesn't work time-wise to participate with us. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Kayla Grams, and I am a clinician, a mental health clinician, and the owner of Bellfish Counseling here in town. And we, of course, are kind of like everyone else. We are finding ways to social distance. We are finding ways to still provide services for our community. I'm in I guess, a special line of work because this is a time when lots of people really need some extra help. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is how do we take care of ourselves really well, and how do we keep engaged during this process? So I wanted to start out just with something fun. I have spent hours trolling the internet over the last 2 weeks as we've kind of been stuck at home quite a bit. And doing so. And so these are just some of the fun things that I have found that have just really had me laughing over all of the past few weeks and sharing them between my girlfriends and my husband, and just so much fun. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of levity as we get started here. And so really excited to jump in. So here is a quote that I found as I was looking to participate in this, and this is from the World Health Organization, and it says physical distancing and isolation measures, the closures of school, our workplaces are particularly challenging for us as they affect what we love to do, where we want to be, and who we want to be with. It is absolutely natural for each of us to feel the stress, anxiety, fear, loneliness during this time. At WHO, or the World Health Organization, we consider the effects on our mental health and our psychological well-being as very important consequences of the COVID-19 crisis. As people all around the world find themselves working from home, being homeschooled, unable to travel, even down the streets to visit our friends and our family, staying mentally healthy could be increasingly difficult. And that just really spoke to all that I know that all of us are managing and dealing with, and the uncertainty that has arisen because of the economic uncertainty, the not knowing how long this is going to last, all those things. So the big sort of takeaways here for mental health, especially in regards to social isolation and some financial impacts, tend to be this depression and anxiety. And I like to talk about depression and anxiety as being on a continuum. One of the things that I think about is depression happens when we worry backwards, and anxiety happens when we worry forward. And so we end up with a lot of worries right now. Those of us who have small children that we're trying to homeschool and make sure, and homeschool is probably the bad word, but what we're trying to do is take ownership of their education as it has been so lovingly handed off to us, and really we are being helped so much by our school districts, but are we capable? Are we doing okay as parents? Are we doing okay as employers? What about my finances? What about my kid missing all of their activities? They're a senior, they're going to graduate. So all of these things combine together, and we couple it with our social isolation, and we see it creating lots of anxiety, or some people falling into depression as they are alone and really in the throes of trying to manage some really big unknowns in their lives. And so this just looks at some of the main things that people are dealing with. And I'll click over here. So what do we do? What do we do? Whoa, my screen's faster than me. So our first line of defense is always our thinking. And I like to think about our mental health as the tree that I have pictured here. And it comes from this idea of what we water grows. I have a plant in my office that my dear friend gave me just as soon as I opened my business in 2017. And it's the only plant I've ever been able to keep alive. It's over here in my little corner, but it stays alive because I'm here 5 days a week and I see it and I water it. And if I stopped watering it, it would die. And your brain is the same way. So our feelings and our behaviors work on that principle. If we water thoughts uncertainty. If we water, oh my gosh, how long is this going to go on? What if I didn't prepare enough? What if my mom is not going to be okay? If I water those thoughts continually in my mind, I'm going to see myself grow anxiety. Where on the opposite end of that spectrum, if I water thoughts of gratitude and well-being, being very thankful that we live in a state that is well equipped, being thankful that we have a lot of resources in our community and so many people reaching out to help, then we start watering joy and peace and well-being for ourselves. Let's go this way. I've got to figure out how to use this here. The other thing that happens, anxiety happens when we worry about things outside of our control. Anytime I'm spending time thinking about things that I can't directly impact, it's going to make me feel anxious. It's going to make me feel nervous and not know or understand how to move forward. So as I start to water those thoughts, I want to water thoughts that I can control, things that I have direct access to changing. If I'm thinking about something and I have no control over it, I'm going to maybe be 5 or 6 or 7 minutes into thinking about it before I go, oh, this is making me feel hot and nervous and anxious and I don't know what to do about it. And so in those moments, we have to stop and say, okay, can I control anything about this? Can I control anything about the amount of toilet paper at the store? And the answer to that is no, absolutely not. I can control some things. I could ask my girlfriend maybe who's at a different store, who went to the dollar store here in Bell today as opposed to Lynn's, hey, do they have this item? But once I've done that, I can't control anything else. You know, is my mom staying at home because maybe she is in a high-risk population? Can I control that? No, I can't. But I can control, have I checked in on my mom? Have I told her that I love her? Have I told her that I really care about her and I hope that she's staying at home? And if I focus my mind on those things, it will really reduce my anxiety. Please feel free to stop me if you have any questions as we go here. So what I want to do now is I'm going to come a little bit and we're going to talk about stress. And these two things go hand in hand. If I am anxious and I am depressed, it can create stress for me and vice versa. It's really this chicken and egg argument. Is not only can stress create anxiety, anxiety creates stress. And so I want to talk a little bit about stress that you guys are all probably experiencing as we go through this pandemic together. So a healthy stress cycle starts with a stressor. I have something that is worrying me or concerning me, something that creates this internal physiological response. You and I, every single person in the world, our body responds to stress. So we have a stressor and our body responds to stress by pumping out hormones. If you think about it, you're in really, really high stress. And if you reach back and you touch the back of your neck, if you're really angry at somebody, you're going to notice that that part of your neck gets really warm. And this is because this is where our body's stress response is. Your body pumps out lots and lots and lots of hormones. So in a healthy stress response, your body responds by maybe your heart starts beating fast, your adrenaline starts pumping, your body fills up with cortisol, which is our stress hormone, so that it prepares us to respond to the stressor. And then we have the ability to respond to the stressor, and we release all the hormones that our body has taken on, and then we've completed the stress cycle and we return to normal functioning. So this coping and release down at the bottom is where we have to really be thoughtful of. If you notice our next slide here, this is an unhealthy stress response. And what happens here is our body has a stress, our body responds to it, but we don't have the ability to cope, or we don't have a way to release all the chemicals that our body has built up. And it creates an incomplete stress cycle. And then over time, that chemical builds up. So I'm going to take you back to caveman days. If you think back to when we were a caveman, I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but we'll start here at the top. So here I am, I'm a cave woman, and out comes a tiger. And all of a sudden, my body responds. It senses there's a tiger. It starts pumping my blood real fast. My fingers start getting, like I'm ready to go. I'm going to fight or flight. I'm either going to take off running or I'm going to be able to defend myself against this tiger. And so my body pours stress hormones in. So that's my body's stress response. Well, now all of a sudden the tiger's after me. So I got to run. I got to take off running. So what my body is doing at that moment is it is using up that stress chemical. It's getting it out of my body because I'm having to use it. Therefore, it releases that stress chemical outside of my body and I return to my normal functioning. But today, we're sitting on our couches. So we have a stressor. When I pick up my cell phone and I look at my bank account or I look at my retirement account. Nobody look at your retirement account right now. I think that's not supposed to be really good for us. But I pick up my phone and I have this stressor. So my body starts to respond. My heart rate goes up. I get nervous. I maybe start just like wondering what I'm going to do. And so this chemical starts pumping in me, but I'm on my couch. So maybe I take some big, deep breaths, but what has just happened to my body is my stress hormone has built up into my system. So I have no way to release it. And so what does it do? That stress chemical starts building up in my body. And now this afternoon, maybe I'm going to be working with my daughter on some homework and she's not getting it. And I don't know how to do Common Core math and she doesn't know how to carry a 1. And so I get this stress response again and I get frustrated and it builds up. But here we are, we're in our house. And so now all of a sudden I have two instances of this stress chemical building up and I haven't been able to release it. And now all of a sudden I'm getting some buildup and I am in a really unhealthy stress cycle and I feel worn out. I feel tired. I'm much more irritable because I haven't had the ability to complete my stress cycle. So now what? So we have this information about depression, anxiety, stress. Where do we go from here? So the first thing we have to do is we have to complete our stress cycle. Anytime that we're experiencing stress in the day, we have got to find a way to burn off or signal to our body that it can release or process out the stress hormones. Of course, the most effective way is 30 minutes of physical activity a day. So if I want to keep myself healthy and keep the stress hormones that are taking place in my body out, 30 minutes of physical activity a day. I'll give you not a fun, but a really interesting tidbit about the stress hormone. The stress hormone, as it is created in your body, turns to fat because that is what your body needs in that moment to run, to burn off energy. But if we don't use it to burn off energy, all of that stress hormone turns into fat and it lines the inner wall of your heart. And this is what creates sort of heart disease. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry about that. Or it might also contribute to weight gain when you're really stressed out. So getting rid of this stress hormone is not just about protecting us today, it protects us long term. So 30 minutes of physical activity will eliminate your stress hormone that you have carried with you for the day. The other thing that you can do to signal to your body that it can let go of that stress hormone and use it up in natural processing of your body during the day is to spend time in social activity with your people that you love and care about, any sort of social connection. And we'll talk about how do we do that when we're socially isolated. Another thing that you can do to signal to your brain to let go is deep breathing. The perfect amount of breathing or the right type of breathing to really calm your body so that it can think clearly and get back to normal functioning is what is called square breathing, which is 4-second inhale, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds. So it's a 4-4-4 breathing mechanism that is going to get just the perfect amount of oxygen to your brain to let your brain know, hey, we're okay. You don't need that extra hormone. You can let it go. Laughing and affection. Both of those are going to be good. Affection is one of those things where the research says you need a 6-second kiss or a 20-second hug. I always tell people, go for a minute hug because it signals to your body that you're safe. We don't usually hug someone for 20 seconds if I don't like them or if I'm not safe with them. So that allows your body to understand that you are done with that stress and it can let go of the chemical. And then crying and creative expression are the other two ways that you can really complete that stress cycle. So as you're going through this time of uncertainty and you feel yourself growing in anxiety or stress, really think about how can I complete the stress cycle. The other thing that's really important for our mental health is rest. Research says healthy people get 10 hours, count on 10 hours of rest a day. Now that includes your sleep. So if I get 8 hours of sleep, I need 2 more hours of rest during the day. And rest is not sitting down reading. It can be, but rest is something where my brain has a break from stress. So I'm not thinking about the bills. I'm not thinking about everything that's going to happen. So doing laundry, if you're listening to a podcast and you're doing laundry and your brain has a break, that could be count as your rest time. So 10 hours of rest. So that's sleep plus whatever the difference is to get you up to 10 hours to be in a position to really be healthy mentally and physically to get you through this time of uncertainty. Let's see what's next. Here are some other things. So when we talk about stress or when we talk about depression and anxiety, we actually combat them by using some of the same things. So the things that we talked about in the previous slide, not only is this going to help you complete your stress cycle, but it's going to help you manage anxiety and depression. Physical activity changes the chemical in your brain. Physical activity releases the chemical that you were short of when you were depressed. So not only is that going to help you complete and lower your stress, but it's also going to help you manage any depression and anxiety. So any of these things that we're going to talk about today and on this next slide are going to help you manage your mental health all around. So limiting your access to news, including the social media, because there's lots of stuff on all of our social media feeds about how many cases there are and what it means for everybody and the unemployment rate and all the things that we can't control. And we've already talked about how focusing on things I can't control is going to grow anxiety for me. So limiting your access to news. It also helps if you have a good news source. So you might say, I check this certain news source once a day. So really limit that so that you can preserve thinking about things that you can't control. Eating healthy is the next one. If you're anything like me, I'm having about, 14 meals a day or 14 stops at the refrigerator, because what else do you do when you're working from home? I actually came to my office for this so I wouldn't be eating, right? But what you have to do is eat healthy. It's going to make sure that your body has everything that it needs so that it can process and access things that it needs through eating healthy. So creating and sticking to a sleep schedule. We all were sleeping probably relatively decent. We were going to bed at the same time, getting up in order to go to work. And now I stay up till 1 a.m. and I get up at 7:30 because my work hours are different. But as much as possible, it's going to help you be able to manage your emotions if you create and stick to a sleep schedule. Prioritizing relationships. All of us are built to connect. That is a fundamental need that each of us have. So prioritizing your relationships. Connect as much as you can with the people who live in your house, and also try to connect with people who are really important to you using socially distant mediums. This, Zoom, FaceTime, Facebook Messenger. All of those things offer ways for you to get some face-to-face time with your friends. I was talking to one of my girlfriends this week who lives out in Brookings, and we set up a virtual book club. And so there's 7 or 8 of us that are going to meet via Zoom, and we're going to talk about books and drink coffee or wine, whatever, and really be able to still connect with people. Connection is going to be vitally important for managing any symptoms of depression that you may be experiencing. So prioritizing those relationships is going to really help you battle any sort of negative mental health impacts. Deep breathing that we talked about on that last slide, those 4 seconds in, hold it for 4 seconds out. When I'm really struggling with stress or anxiety, I set a alarm to go off every hour. So at the top of every hour, and when that alarm goes off, I take 10 big deep breaths. And this really just helps center me so that I can make it through the next hour. It also makes you be intentional about stopping and say, what am I thinking about? Am I thinking about things that are helpful to me? Am I thinking about things I have control over? So that I can center myself. And if you do that every hour, it will take you 1 minute. And that will set you up for success for the rest of the hour. You're going to see your productivity increase, and you're going to see your stress and anxiety decrease. Self-care, all sorts of self-care. Candles, aromatherapy, things that make your environment homey and cozy and smell good. There are so much information about good, solid self-care. And I think all the time, self-care is like this. So all of us have, this is my cup, all of us have sort of a vessel that we pour from. And because we are parents, because we are employers, because we are employees, we have to give. And what happens is we give out of whatever we have inside of us. But if I'm empty, I can't pour out to my children. I can't give to my relationships. I can't give to my job. So self-care keeps my cup full, so that when I'm needed to be helpful in the community, when I'm needed to be helpful to my children, when I'm needed to be present with my family, if I have taken care of myself well, I have something that I can pour out into my community. But if I'm empty because I don't learn how to take care of myself, or I don't make time to take care of myself, I am not going to be able to care for the people around me. So finding ways, even 10 minutes a day, to do something that makes you feel at peace with yourself, that makes you feel cozy, comfortable, healthy, and happy. That's going to keep you from experiencing burnout, anxiety, depression, and stress. Getting outside. I know yesterday was such a sad spring storm when we had such beautiful 60-degree weather. But our 60-degree weather is coming back, and we're going to be able to experience getting outside again. That vitamin D, we cannot replace it. It's so good for our mental health, being outside. And then the last one here is creating purposeful, fun, joyful, or happy moments. So stopping 2-3 times a day and saying, what could I do right now to just have some fun? Maybe you're going to blare my favorite go-to dance in the kitchen song is I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. And so that is like on cue at my house, and a couple times a day that might come on. And my kiddo and I will get our dance on, and my husband will look at us like we're crazy, which is fine. But we try to be intentional about creating purposeful, fun moments, something that I can laugh at. I walked into the house yesterday, and my daughter, who's 15, was laying in the floor, and she was home alone, and she was just cackling with laughter. And I said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm playing What Do You Meme all by myself, which is just this hilarious game. And so she had stopped in the middle of her day to create something fun. And this is really excellent for your mental health. So finding things that just feel like peace, that make you stop and go, oh, life is good. And do that a couple times during the day. And that's really going to increase your ability to manage the anxiety and stress as we are in this time of great unknown. So what about work? This tends to be the question that I have been getting here lately. How do I help people? So some of us get to work at home. Some of us are still going in to work every day. They're essential employees. And how do we help keep up the motivation in our workplace? And at the same time, the happiness. And so here's some ideas. So creating daily challenges for your staff. Maybe you say, someone's going to do something nice for one of our customers today, and then we're going to vote on who did the best job, or post something on social media and whoever gets the most likes. So challenges to really help people be focused on what is important to your organization, customer care, any of those things. At the same time, it keeps that morale up for your staff. It helps them to feel less burdened by all of the stress and pressure that comes with being at work right now. Intentionally celebrating. Get yourself a cowbell. Scream and yell and holler when people are doing something good, or when we can celebrate a sale, or celebrate 10 people calling in a call-in order, just something to make it fun and exciting. Another idea is letting employees pick the playlist for 1 hour. Say, okay, everybody come tomorrow with music uploaded on a Spotify, and you've got 1 hour to play any music that you want to play here in the office. Music is a really healing, creative property that helps people just feel connected to each other and connected to their own inner selves, which really promotes positivity in the workforce and at home. Picture show and tell. So throughout the day, just having people come together, take 2 minutes and have them pull up a picture on their phone of a memory that maybe is one of their favorites and share the story. Again, this is going to help us feel connected in this time of isolation, and it's going to bring some levity into your time together. A funniest meme contest right now with Tiger King on Netflix, which I have not watched, but it is on my to-do list, and all of the Corona memes. This is a wonderful time to find the perfect meme to have a contest. Giving a gift certificate to your employees for a local drive-through eatery or coffee shop. Not only does this support local for all of our organizations who are having to change the way that they're doing business, but it also pumps up your morale for your team. Ordering lunch, it's always a good one, and keeping people in the know. So these are all really great things that you can be doing to increase the mental wellness of your employees. Let's see here. So here are just some contact numbers for places for people if you happen to be struggling right now. This is a really hard time. There's a lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty. There's our office here in town where we are working remotely. We have 3 clinicians. All of us are working remotely from our homes. But under normal circumstances, we're just located right across from Graps in the bowling alley. And then Stronghold and Behavior Management Systems are both in Spearfish. And the crisis hotline, if you or someone that you know needs to talk to someone in some immediacy. And then the South Dakota Department of Labor has a lot of really good information to help you deal with the uncertainty, not only just for how you're going to deal with financial uncertainty, but also how we can deal with the day-to-day stuff that's happening for us. Okay, so this brings me to the end of my sort of thought through process, and I wanted to have some time for us to be able to answer any questions or to talk about anything that you guys may want to know about or ask about. I'll see.
She's doing a live for them.
Perfect. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments that you would like to make? Okay, let's see what's on the chat. There is a chat option on the side here if anybody wants to